Welcome, everybody, to another BS Friday. Listen, we're going to have a great show for you today. And you're probably going, where is Mark Bare Naked Willie? Well, Bare Naked Mark Willie is traveling across the country right now. He is stuck in some 50-mile-an-hour winds. They're trying to figure out. But if I know Mark, he will find a way to be joining us here very shortly. But that's not going to stop us because we have some special guests on today. And we have a special announcement from a guest today that's going to be on. And today we're going to be talking about panelized wall systems, full systems, and probably even more than just the wall systems. We're going to be talking a little bit of what offsite is or is not, but really we're going to talk about is how we are advancing our industry, how people like the folks we're going to have on are taking our industry to the very next level. And that's super important for all of us in growing where we are headed in an industry that has not changed in over 100 years. So with that said, let's start having a little bit of fun. But first, at Dave Cooper Live, we are bringing you the people and the processes that are building it better. Our guests include topics from building systems, building science, building codes, and the buildings themselves getting better and better and better with healthy building, building science, you name it, passive house. Passive house. Well, that's interesting. I got a guess. Let's bring a special guest on here to make some introductions. Hey, Mr. Sean St. O'More, my friend. How are you, buddy?
I'm excellent. How are you? Can you hear me okay? I'm on a remote location and my internet's a bit spotty too. I don't have the 50-kilometer rain, but I got some rain coming down here, so hopefully you can hear me okay.
Yeah, we can hear you just fine. So,
Great.
Mr. John St. O'More, I get to see you a lot these days, man. We're doing all kinds of cross-pollinator events and talking. Tell me you didn't take your helicopter there because I'm still waiting for my helicopter ride.
No, you know what? It's interesting. I'm literally, that is the Pacific Ocean behind me. I actually had to deliver some wood fiber there, some Gutex wood fiber insulation to a client who's going to be loading it on their boat and taking it out to this house. And I figured, I know you're going to do some traveling. I know you've been hanging around the Atlantic Ocean. There's the Pacific Ocean for you, my friend.
Well, we are headed that way in just a few short weeks. So, all right, listen, Sean. So, I mean, you're no stranger to this show. You're no stranger to streaming and being on podcasts. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what we have coming up today?
Yeah, excellent show. And so again, hi to Jennifer, who's behind the scenes. Always good to see her as well. Mark, we'll figure out when he shows up. And again, thank you for all the sponsors. It's great that what you do, Dave, and appreciate everything you do. You have two excellent individuals today. They are industry disruptors. You know I like to hang around with those kind of people. And today we have two that are at the top of the prefab game. So we have Edie Dillman, who is uber talented. She's been involved in education, actually more specifically workforce development. She's been working with a design magazine and even had her own design studio. Then you have Jonah Stanford, he's part of like the Passive House Jedi Club. He's one of those early adopters in Passive House, and literally it's just, you know, an amazing workforce and just the knowledge he has about Passive House and his experience. Together, they are a dominant force in the Southwest US, and great to see them getting the Be Public Prefab company started. I'm looking forward to this presentation. I love this whole push about energy conservation versus energy production, component-based manufacturing, and having a collaborative integrated design process. I typically connect with these two individuals through another company, Collective Carpentry, and but I love Lego, and these two have created an excellent company with their partner Charlotte, and they're just having a lot of fun with this unique company. So if I can have the honor in bringing in Edie and Jonah, welcome. There's a Shiro and a gentle giant. Welcome to BS Fridays.
Oh man, welcome to BS Friday.
Wow. You guys can speak for us anytime. That was fantastic.
I love it.
My pleasure.
Sean, so I think this is it's always amazing when you do the introductions because you're visiting with all these people that are doing wonderful things, Passive House, panelization, systemized building, whatever the case is. You get to see it all based upon what you guys do at 475. What's so special about what Be Public's doing in your mind?
Oh, again, you're taking, again, it's giving builders the Lego kit. And we kind of have fun with this. But again, it's giving builders an option to get into prefab in such an easy, simple system. And I love what they're doing. I can't say enough of how excited I am to see more of the projects coming down to their location, and them again just disrupting the market and getting builders to use prefab and getting a high performance build package with it. It's just excellent. So super exciting.
I love it. Hey, it's time for the disruption. It's time for our industry to change. It hasn't changed in over 100 years. So with that said, everybody, we are live on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. Edie, do you know why we go to Twitch?
I don't. You're going to have to tell me. Tell me all about Twitch.
Because all the young people are on Twitch. This is where they go and play their virtual reality games and, Fortnite and all these fun things. There's other platforms, but we chose to go to Twitch because it's one of the bigger ones out there, because we believe that if they're not going to come to us, well, we're going to go get in their face and be in front of them. And it's been working. We've had a lot of people joining from Twitch lately, which has been great. So for those of you that are out there, if you are not following, please start following Edie, Jonah, Sean. Follow them. Follow their company as well. Be public. All right. So I asked this of everybody, Edie and Jonah. We want to know everything about you from the moment you were born to this very moment in time. Today, don't leave out any of the good stuff from the hospitals, because Sean will call your mother if you lie to us. We want to know it all. But guess what? You only have about 2 minutes each to do it. Edie, you're going to go first.
Thanks, Dave. No pressure, right?
No pressure.
No pressure. So I'm Edie Dillman. I am one of the proud co-founders of Be Public Prefab. I have the title of CEO, but we could probably in the chat create a new title today. I'm open to new titles for that. That one's just as old as the building systems we've been using, 100 plus. Born and raised, ready for this? Born and raised in Evanston, Illinois, a proud Chicagoan. I know Mark will jump in at some point and we'll just devolve into talking about pizza. But for now, we'll stick with born and raised in Evanston, a proud graduate of public high school in Evanston. And I'd like to give a shout out to the city council who last week passed reparations. And those reparations are going to housing dollars. So really proud of my roots in Evanston and very proud of what they're doing today in disruption as well. Went from Evanston, went to Claremont, California, and got a BA in fine art. Moved back to Chicago. Started a company. I was doing consulting and helping small business creatives learn how to make money doing what they love. Had a blast doing that. Got a little itchy in my 20s, decided to move to the west, back to the mountains, and landed in Santa Fe, New Mexico. I've been here ever since. So I'm sitting right now in Santa Fe, New Mexico in our office. Along the way, I think I should mention that I met a guy. I met a guy in Chicago, and, he's a part of that drive cross country. The secret to this is that after 21 years of marriage, we jumped into business together. So my business partner is Jonah Stanford, along with Charlotte Lagarde, who is a very dear old friend. Oh, you're going to show Jonah. Really, it's just a dating show, just like 20 years too late, right? This is a dating show around building science.
It works.
I didn't even know this.
Why not? We got to have some love, right? There's some love in this one. And so the story goes, we came out here and we've both had incredible experiences here. I was very fortunate to land in the magazine world, and I worked for Outside Magazine for many years, and then went and worked for the state of New Mexico and helped run New Mexico Magazine. And then I left that because really passion and changing the world, it was time. We all reach a certain age where we got to gun it and go gonzo. And I stepped into the education to workforce disruption with an amazing organization, Innovate, Educate. And in that work, discovered that the issues that my dear husband and partner was seeing in the building industry and the rising cost of construction and the lack of builders coming into, those young people coming into, was all related. We sent people to college rather than into the trades. And now we're really at a deficit. So that was the work I was doing while Jonah was working on Passive House and developing a system for standardized building. And those two things together, right? Explosion. This is it. This is the big idea. And so we've really jumped in, all of us. So Joe, is that enough? Should I mention all the dogs and their?
No, that was plenty. I thought that was plenty.
Yeah, that was good.
I love it that you're in business together. I'm in business with my wife together, and I have to tell you, there's a lot of good and there's a lot of ups and downs when you're in business together and pulling everything together and different ideas. So kudos to you. Not everybody can do that. We've been doing it for 16, 17 years now. So, and still doing it. All right, Jonah, I know that Edie had her time on camera, but hey, listen, now that we know you're married, we don't want to know everything about you from the moment when you were born. We want all the dirt on Edie. So just go ahead. Let's start spilling the beans and let's have a good time.
I want to give a big shout out to 475 though for a second. In a lot of ways, Sean, your intro was so kind, but a lot of that approach to education first when it comes to this, and that education is the best marketing tool out there when it comes to best practice and so forth. And that approach is a real precedent, I think, in the industry, and one that Be Public is really following along with as well.
Sean just got lost his signal. That's why he popped out. So that's what happened right there. Where'd you go, Sean? You were going to be my guest host now. He was here for the introduction. He'll pop back in. All right. So I think that was really great. Jonah, honestly, though, give a few moments about your background and what have you.
From the Rocky Mountains, born and raised for the most part out here, lived all over the world, smaller native Eskimo villages and Inuit in Alaska and North Carolina, California, Colorado, Hawaii, all over. So just moved around a lot. And then mostly worked in the field for pretty much all of my life until Edie and I actually moved out to Santa Fe, and I started in my early 30s and started just deciding to practice architecture. After about 14 years of that, sort of bootstrapped myself through to architectural licensure, which has really been a great practice. And I think in 2008, when we were doing a lot of affordable housing development, we were really just seeing, a total cap in what we could get out of a building sustainability approach like LEED or something. And so that's where we came across the Passive House approach and really haven't looked back. Our practice has been completely dedicated to Passive House construction for extremely low load buildings. And we did start seeing that, we're starting to reinvent the wheel a bunch. And having a hard time serving smaller projects that felt like really they were, that were needed and it was the right work. But really not being able to scale Passive House construction. So this is really a lot of the Be Public work is developed from that. The last 5 or 6 years, looking at optimizing and Passive House and looking at seeing how you can increase access to this level of construction. So it's really neat stuff, and I'm really excited to share.
Yeah, no, this is going to be a lot of fun. All right, so everybody's joining us right now. Sean St. Omar, I don't know how much time you have, Sean, but if you can stay as long as you want.
I'll hang out. Sorry, I pressed the wrong button, but thanks, Jonah, for talking about 475. Again, we're industry disruptors just like you, and it comes down to education. And I keep telling people that are in the Passive House world, we're educators, and I know, Edie, you like this whole thing too, is we just teach people how to build better every day, and hopefully they buy our products. And if not, we just keep preaching and if we just keep growing the pie, all of our slices grow. So
show them the information you use to make a decision, right?
That's
right. And then it's really clear.
Yeah, that's right. All right, so let's kick off this show. So everybody out there, we have a video, we have some SketchUp design work we're going to show you, and we also have a presentation that we're going to show you today. So there's a couple things that are going to happen, but first I want to touch base on something that's super important to every single one of us in this industry, and that is the workforce development. Edie, you made a comment about it earlier. let's talk about this for a few moments, because I think it is super, super important that we keep this at the forefront, because without our workforce and a skilled workforce, we're not going to go very far, very fast.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you bet, Dave. I mean, I think, you know, I get really excited and I love talking about this, and there's so much opportunity. And I think that's what's really important to talk about. And all of this is about creating partnerships and creating an ecosystem and pulling people in, getting people excited. You know, offsite is a great entry point to that, because we're able to train within a shop in a controlled environment. For workforce, you know, stabilization, to have women and students have the ability to have a set schedule, to know that they're not going to be out in the rain, that their job is not going to be canceled because of weather. It's so important that we take that advantage and allow people to come into this sort of safe, controlled environment and have a stable job. So there's a huge benefit to that. You know, I get really excited about the opportunities for partnerships. I'm a big fan of community colleges and trade schools. I mean, you know, I'm just really excited to bring them into this, not just into passive house and building science, but into sort of the entrepreneurial spirit of building things and getting things out to market.
The pride of the industry, right? I mean, for so long, it was just about you're only measuring cost, right? You're getting a project bid out, and you're just looking at the number of your framing number, right? And you're comparing it to the next. And like, if you're just measuring that cost, because I think for so long, it wasn't understood that you actually had a control over how good your environment was. We felt like houses were built just like this, and that's how physics works, right? Like that's in there. And now we can see, like, you know, we can measure a lot of other things. What about measuring carbon, right? What about measuring like durability? What about the building science and like the air quality, right? So, and so because we now know that we can actually do something about it, or we can impact it dramatically. And so it's really more about measuring something more than just the cost of something. What is the value of something?
Well, and Jonah,
go ahead, Sean.
Sorry. This week someone brought up to my point, and you know, it's something we don't talk about tough, but at the end of the day, you know, we're not just talking about costs, it's just facts and science. And every time we get in these conversations and people, you know, want to fight us on, it's like, no, let's just go back to facts and science. Like,
and when we start going into that, I think that's when we say, okay, then the carpenters are going like, what I do matters. What I do has a direct impact in the performance and the durability of this. I am important. It's not just how quick or how cheap, like I'm having an impact. And I think that's one of the ways that we really lost a lot of the trades. As we said, we just sort of don't respect what this is. It's like a service, but and I think that's what we're really trying to talk about when we try to disrupt. I think that's part of it too.
Well,
I agree with you, Jonah and Sean and Edie. So I agree with all of you on this, but I have a little bit different take. I think we lost a lot of the trades because us as an industry didn't keep up with technology. Yeah. When your best buddy's playing Fortnite and getting paid to do it, you know, what do you want to do? You want to go out and swing a hammer in the rain? I mean, this is kind of the mentality shift that started happening. And how I use this comparison all the time. The difference when I was a kid growing up, you were either on that side of the group or that side of the group. There wasn't a whole lot of intermingling unless you were at a party or something somewhere and you crossed paths. But today, you could be going to Harvard to become a doctor, and you could be a mechanic at a diesel shop, but at night you're playing Fortnite together. You have things in common, right? And I think this is some of the differences that we face today. And quite honestly, to keep doing it the way we've been doing and building, I mean, it's archaic. It really is archaic, and it makes no sense. And I know we're going to get into this is why you guys are doing what you do, and I love it. But yeah, I think our lack of being innovative and bringing technology to it was just as big a factor of us it not being cool. I think it wasn't cool.
It wasn't cool, and I think there's a lot to be said around craftsmanship, right? Can we please just take it back? And this is like the big part of this disruption, and about, you know, Jonah and I will talk about this, is that, you know, getting to that quality of building envelope is difficult, and we don't have time to stop building in order to train everybody. So how do we up our craftsmanship and really value the craftsmanship and honor it, that that's how we achieve these high quality envelopes at the same time that we're including, thank you, Sean, in 475, high-tech materials, right? But it's the creativity and the innovation coming together that makes it interesting to our next generations, right? If we continue to do things same old with materials that are, you know, not performing and are actually damaging our earth, what are we selling to them in terms of workforce?
Yeah, we don't have time. We don't have time for it. Like, we literally have to kill up every bird with the one stone we've got at this point, right? So we just don't have time. We've got housing, these social equality issues, and environmental issues, and we really, and this is, it's construction is uniquely suited to address every single one of those. It really is. It's amazing. Like the housing capacity or requirement, housing and need that our country has, if implemented with like carbon sequestering products, has a substantial positive impact on our environmental condition right now, if we were to build it out in this method.
Yeah. Hey, listen, if the traditional methods work, we wouldn't be having the crisis and the problem that we have right now to begin with. I mean, let's just face it, right? Everybody wants to say, well, you know, they built it 100 years ago. It's still standing. Oh, great. But it's making you sick. It's making your kids sick. Let's talk about all the bad things that happen too. But the craftsmanship is what's skillful there. So, all right, let's talk about what Be Public is doing now. I want to, I mean, workforce, it's going to come to us as we innovate. You guys are innovating, you know, how you build, why you're building this way. So why don't we hop into the story of how this all came about? You know, who sits there and goes to their spouse, I want to start a factory, right? Like, how does this begin? Yes, I want to start a factory when there's no workforce and there's this.
But I want to jump in on that. I think that's a kind of a neat aspect of Be Public, though. So it was conceived so that it could do like decentralized manufacturing, which is an important part, right? So not all working in one 4 million square foot fully automated facility, but like that you could actually start manufacturing out of your garage, right? That it's and that you're just manufacturing under license. These are trades that rural communities could do in their garage or something like that and start up an industry. And so, and again, not reinvent the wheel, right? We all know exactly. And so that just, I think, for rural markets, for reducing shipping and ability to optimize a product based on the natural resources that are within that area. But still, when you're looking at the physics, the building science, the performance of it, that's math. And so, and that's physics, and it's staying the same regardless of what region you're in. You're just evaluating them off the same thing. So again, you're not reinventing the equation. You're just recalculating it, right?
Yeah, and I would say, Dave, it's a really important part of, we're really fortunate to have partners in manufacturing who are dynamite, and I think everybody can agree that Collective, Carpentry, they're incredible partners to us. But really that the idea is that this is shared, right? We don't own our manufacturing, we want to partner. Like Be Public really could be looked at more as a cooperative or a collaborative system for all of us to move it forward. And I think there is, you know, business culture that wants to own it all, and we don't. I mean, we certainly want to be here and be leading this disruption, but it's the best
thing that can happen is that we get a lot of competition.
Love it, love it. I actually just saw Mark pop in, and then he's gone again.
Hey,
just so you guys know, he's gone. He was right. He was there. Mark, where'd you go?
He's gonna pop into Sean's picture. He's just gonna like come up on a boat.
Where are you, Mark? So there you go. Everybody knows it's not me not letting him in. He's not there. He was there and he's not there. He's like a ghost, this guy. All over the place. Teleporting across the country with T-Stud. All right. So yeah, all right. I lost my track.
Can I jump in? You asked a great question. So where did the company come from? Because you're right. You don't just sort of fall upon this. I feel like I did in a way, because a lot of the hard work was done by Jonah. And we're married. We mentioned this, so I can speak for him, right? He just loves when I talk for him. Right? But that it was, I think, classically, specifically in the North American passive house movement, of the struggle, knowing that this is the way forward, like really believing that this is the answer for so many things, but that the building trades aren't ready, that re-educating and re-estimating for every single project and reinventing the wheel is not the way forward, that we have to find faster ways. When you believe that this is the answer, that everything should be built to this standard, you have to find ways to do it faster and include more people.
Yeah.
So now I'll let Jonah talk because I got to say that.
No, I mean, we should, I don't know how much we can talk about any one of these subjects. So we're absolutely,
yeah, no, we definitely can. So let's get into the specifics now of what you guys are doing at Be Public. Let's talk about the product. Let's show some of the resources that you have, and let's set up the conversation so we can dive in deeper with the video and the presentation. And after you kind of tell us a little bit about how you're set up and what your market is and some of the basic stuff, if you're doing your Be Public elevator pitch, and then we're going to take some questions. Then we're going to get into the meat and potatoes and really look at your system.
Okay, that's great.
Yeah. So go ahead. Edie, why don't you kick off a little bit about the panelization process that you chose, and then maybe Jonah, you can get into the details of those.
Thank you.
Yeah, that'd be fantastic. So it is, we're hitting the market hard in I'd say 3 aspects, and we'll share the panelized system in particular. The fastest way forward that we decided on is that a simple set of Lego-like components for building to high performance was our path forward. And how we're entering the market with that is number one, examples like this, and on our weekly onboarding open meetings, is bringing in building professionals, architects, designers, passive house consultants, and training them to our tools. What are our dimensions? What are our walls and floors and top panels built to do? So working directly with architects to specify our panels, just like you would specify your windows and doors. And we'll walk through in the presentation in general, share some of those specifics. And then additionally, working with developers. You know, we really want to have an impact on housing and the huge housing need across the country, both rural and city infill. And so working directly with developers in taking their existing plans and reconfiguring them with our standard plans, but also offering to them our plans. And that takes me to the third, which is direct to consumers. We are creating home plans that individuals can license and customize with us for building with Be Public panels. And of course, we sell those panels. So those home plans are being developed. They're on the site. They're always being added to the site. But, you know, really from backyard ADUs studios to multifamily developments, this is what we're doing, is providing a way forward, and we're really trying to drop as many of those barriers to high performance or getting to the best possible built project at any scale. We really love the scalability of this, and that you may not need a 4-bedroom, 4-bath house, right? A lot of younger people really want a smaller unit, and maybe, you know, we're all thinking differently with COVID. We want great workspaces at home. But that's really the way we're entering the market. So we're really doing a lot of education and onboarding. We're working directly with developers to have an impact on those larger project builds and neighborhoods. And then we're working directly with individuals who really, you know, want to do the right thing and want to build to high performance.
It's just eliminating the barriers to high performance construction and sustainable construction. Absolutely. Yeah.
Absolutely. All right, everybody. We are live, LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch with Be Public today in the house. We got some people in the chats to include Jerry McCahey from Integra making some comments. So this is going to be good. We got some comments coming through. Why don't we say hello to some of the people that are here to support us today? 1 second. We're going to jump right into it. Sean says his battery's getting low. He wasn't expected to stay the whole time. Sean, when you disappear, we will give you our butterfly hello, goodbyes, and all the other fun stuff. So hopefully you stay with us as long as you can. All right, we have Andrew Seeley from GPodge. BS Friday, only noon here, but we're ready for happy hour. Going to be a good one. I love it. We have Henry Mickelberg joining us, After Sun Location, DC. Henry's coming all the way to us from France today. Let's see, who else do we have here? Jennifer said, welcome, Sean St. Amour. Great intro for Edie, Dillman, and Jonah Stanford, working together, conserving energy, inspiring workforce development. You are stealing Dave Cooper's soapbox. Yes, that's okay. Have my soapbox anytime you want, because we're pulling in the same direction. We have Shannon Pendleton. So psyched for this show. Shannon, thank you for joining us today. We got quite a few. We're going to go down the list here, everybody. All right. Bronwyn Berry. Hello, everyone. Great to see the show featured Be Public Prefab. This is where the market is going. Jonah and Edie are helping lead with Passive House baked into their panels. I love it. I love it. I agree.
So I want to say 13 years ago, Bronwyn quoted out a prefab project for us. Prefabbed in Germany and then shipped over and erected. So that's how long Bronwyn and I have been working in prefab for Passive Houses. Wow. I mean, it's really cool to do it side by side with her.
I love it. Is Bronwyn from Germany? In Germany?
No, she's not. Yeah.
California, just as exotic. She's in California.
Right. Just as exotic. I love it. Is Germany? That's I love actually both. I love Germany. Brown and Barry, tell us where you are in California. We'd love to know. We're heading that way soon. It's always great to catch up with people on the road. All right. Jennifer says, Edie, can you share some success stories around innovate, educate, and inspiring the next generation to join the ecosystem of construction?
Wow, that's a really open question, Jennifer. Thank you. It's really nice. I've spent a bit of time on social this week and thinking about this community and the overlaps between the community of innovate, educate, which is, a lot of this disruption that happened because of COVID, right? Great online training, what can be trained offsite on computers, on cell phones, on the job, or what needs to be done in person. And I think the stuff we've seen on how much of our trainers in Passive House and building science and in the trades has moved to either a hybrid or completely online, and we keep bringing people in. So that, I saw a lot of the seeds of that, and we were talking about disruption and that, just-in-time training could be possible, and COVID kind of opened it up. I mean, we were working really hard with some amazing partners across the country, across the world around that kind of training. And COVID was that disruption that everything went that way. And I think we've seen there've been some really great successes and learning opportunities. And right. I think there've been some failures, but that disruption. And so what does it mean to retrain, to retool? I think this has been a huge, big win. And I really do applaud these educators and trainers who have flipped the switch and, like you, Dave, gone online, learn how to engage with people even at a distance. And, in a lot of ways, you can show the science. I mean, Jonah's going to be able to show us models of our buildings and what you can dig into and have a very personal experience with on screen is it's amazing. I mean, this really is the new wave. And I love, we've been talking to people about using VR and doing VR training for installs on our panels. Like, we can't always travel. So what is it that we can use in that technology that we're learning?
And another part that, Edie, that the perception that you were talking about the business model as a community as well, and I think that's something like talking to Sean, you can see that there could be permeability between staff moving from the field to design to manufacturing to install to service. To like material science, all of those, that there's a lot of possible crossover. So really eliminating any glass ceiling that might exist just within a single organization. And I think that's what happens when we start collaborating together as businesses and industries as well, is that we see that as an asset, right? Because, if they've got staff that wants to be doing design, then they're going to be better at designing than in the field and vice versa too. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That's why I said it. We go to Twitch, right? We're on Twitch, not because I want to be cool like the young kids. I want more young folks here with us, right? And that's what it's all about. I love it. All right. So that was a great question. Thanks, Jennifer. Let me move down the list here. Roy Hong says, preach, Edie. Preach. Oh. All right. We're in the church of panelization. You're entering the doors of greatness. I love it. I love it. Shannon Pendleton has another comment. Edie and Jonah, love this discussion and your work. Any thoughts on how to pair BS educated tech school kids with old school craftsmen so we don't lose the institutional knowledge while we gain the new school knowledge? Oh, this is fun. I just had a conversation about this before the show. Go ahead.
It's really good. It's a great question. I think we just open it up for the rest of the hour and talk about that. I mean, really, we really need to. What's the average age on a job site right now? I think it's 45, something like that. It's climbing. And so how do we do that? How do we transfer that knowledge and have true mentorship? We've talked a lot about apprenticeship and mentorship. How do we do that in a way that is innovative, engaged, more exciting, more, you just talked to Dave, this goes back to my Innovate Educate days. You just talked to Aaron at Uncommon Construction, and I actually brought him to a national conference to talk on main stage because I think what he's doing in paying high school students to be in the trades and to be trained is exactly the point, right? It's not just volunteerism or going to school. It's getting paid to learn. And getting valued, knowing that you have a pathway. It really is about those career pathways, and that there's, you see a path forward. It's not a blind alley you're entering into. You have a lifetime of work.
That's right.
And security. Yeah,
no, I agree. How about you, Jonah?
Preaching.
Well, we're in the Church of Edie at the moment, but that's okay. We like the Church of Edie.
Our kids know far more about the different, window performance options than any kid should. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just going to focus on these two.
Hey, listen, my son, if you ask my son my name, he says Dave Cooper Live.
Yeah.
Honestly, that's what he tells everybody. It's Dave Cooper Live.
Yeah, he's 18, right? Yeah.
No, he's 4. So, yeah. Well, you're absolutely right. We had a conversation, then we'll get to the presentation because I really want people to see what you guys are doing. I think it's fabulous. Earlier, and it was about how the college students, and this is starting to happen in Canada, that are in university, they should have to work in the trades as part of their first year curriculum because what you draw on paper, they never get the practical skills. Like a doctor gets practical skills, right? You're not going to do heart surgery until you spend whatever it is, 4 years with the cardiologist sewing up the heart surgeries. And it's kind of the same thing in our field. We need more of that interaction because as technology grows, as innovative, VR, all of these things start coming together, the people in the field are going to have to be a lot more technical savvy than just swinging hammers and nails. They're still going to have to do those things, but they're also going to know how to use the tech. And I think the collaboration of both the higher education and the field, I believe, is going to start coming together. It's going to be forced to have to do that. And I think it's going to change the environment. I think being a plumber, an electrician, an HVAC, or whatever you're doing is going to be cool. I think it's going to be cool. I think it's not going to be the way it was looked at for a few years where it wasn't cool to be in these industries, especially when they make double the income that most kids getting out of college make.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Well, and I'll use our own, high schoolers in this. You care a lot more about your math homework and your math grade if you're actually standing on a roof trying to figure out how you're going to get that panel down.
I love it. All right. Let's say hi, Jerry McCahey from Integra. I don't know if you guys know Jerry. Jerry is from Integra and super great guy and really doing a lot for our industry as well in the same space. So perfect. We're going to do a couple more comments and then we're getting to the show here. We have Rain Wardwell. Woohoo! Be public. Love you guys. You guys got a fan base, man. This is awesome. I love it. Love it. Right. Brown and Barry, props to you, Jonah. I'm in San Francisco. Okay, so she answered my question. Good to see you. They're having a little back and forth with Jerry. All right, let's get into this now if we can. Where do you guys want to start? I want to dive into your presentations. We have a video and we have a PowerPoint and we have a SketchUp. You tell me where you would like to start.
I don't know. We're having so much fun. Where should we go? I think we hold the video because we can put that at the end, or we can always kick people to the end. Yeah, I'm just going to produce the show for you. Joe, do you want to walk through some of the slides? I mean, I think it's really nice to show what we're talking about. It goes from theoretical to. Why
don't we? I would start, Edie, with the fourth slide, and then go to the other detail one. Yeah.
Okay.
All right, I got the slides up whenever you guys are ready.
Down in there, yeah.
And Mark, hey, just so you know, Mark's in the audience. He's apologized. So, hey, Mark, we are here. If you can try and join us, brother. Hope you're being safe on the road. Don't be driving and doing this.
So just a quick overview on the components, just be clear. So that really the structure, what happens when you start optimizing, the building based on the core principles of, a continuous air barrier, primary uninterrupted thermal envelope, consistent structural paths, making sure that all your insulated cavities are fully enclosed by using, a good weather-resistant barrier, fully vapor open, so that you have a lot of resilience in terms of what climate you're able to build in. And then one also that's able to scale in R values, so a construction that's able to serve several R values still efficiently and so forth. And then one that's primarily carbon sequestering. And again, without any thermal bridges. And so really that's what B-Public has optimized these components to serve those masters there.
Right.
And so it's top panels, wall panels, and floor panels. And then depending on the install, there's mid-floor framing that might need to happen or other bearing. So Edie, advance 2 slides to the next one quickly. Yeah. So this is the B-Public family of components, and there's 3 different wall values ranging from around a 35 up to over 50, 52, and these are all whole wall PHPP numbers. So these are fully evaluated assemblies, and they are thermally bridge free. And then unvented roof assemblies. And a lot of these, being a good shout out to 475, a lot of these primary air barrier materials, the tapes and the supports on those materials and so forth are coming from 475. And I think they've just been really great, just like Collective Carpentry in collaborating in sort of optimizing the technical assemblies. And so there's also standardized floor and roof panels.
Right.
They come in 3 different lengths. And so, Edie, maybe go up 1 to the. Yeah. So a couple of the things that we are seeing, what we don't need to reinvent is what our assembly is. But what we do need to reinvent every single time is the orientation, the scale, and where window and doors are, ceiling heights, the architecture of it, pitched roof, flat roof, those things we always want to be able to customize and optimize in order to maintain like an architectural heritage and appropriateness, right? And so we don't want everything to be homogeneous also when we solve our current housing issues. So really, and so B-Public really focuses on, just let's nail down the structure, and everything else can really be an architecturally appropriate to the vicinity and so forth. So again, B-Public its components can be, like this is an example on this floor plan of the different floor panels being combined. They're in 4 and 8 foot increments, and they can then be joined at 90 degrees or then butt in. So you can create anywhere from, 16 to 34, clear interior spans with the components. And Edie, let's see if you can go to the wall sections. I mean, the wall panel components. So
how's that? There you go.
So you can see, just like when Edie talks about them being Lego-esque, these top components there, like our wall panels and then these filler panels, they're all available in these 3 different R values. And what's cool is people that have been practicing in Passive House know that really your cost impact when you move to Passive House construction is not your R value. It's the quality of your other systems and the continuity of your other systems, of your airtightness layer and your weather resistant barrier, and how captive your insulated spaces are, really. And so once you've done that, that's primarily where all your cost increase is. And it's in that detailing, and it's because that scope does not exist in typical construction at this point. It doesn't, right? Blowing in insulation does and everything like that, but that doesn't. So it's really an add-on. And so, but once you're over that hurdle, your R value then can really increase really affordably, right? There's very little, cost of the project. Just additional cellulose is fairly minimal. Right. And that's really reflected on the B public components. Our lowest R value of an R35 compared to our highest R value at R52, there's only like an 8% cost premium going from an R35 to a 52. And that makes a lot of sense to the other practitioners that are listening. But it's something that's not always really easy to capitalize on. And so what we see is that clients that come to us, instead of having to approach a project with a sort of an insulation or an energy conservation poverty mentality, they're able to say like, I'm going to have my R value for have my heating and cooling load for, only 8% more. Yeah. On just that scope, right? It's not 8% across the entire project. It's just 8% off of the cost of the component. So that's an interesting aspect of it. So and I got off topic a little bit. So what's neat is you can take these components and go to the next slide, Edie, quickly. And so then create a bunch of different customized glazing opportunities or open, in response to whatever the design requirements are for the project. And so Edie, go on to the.
Yeah, and I was gonna jump in around what you were just saying of the different R values. Part of what's really exciting and important about offsite is material waste is reduced to almost nothing, right? If we're not throwing things away, but it's also the appropriateness for each project, each site, and each climate. So being able to do work in California in mild climates, or even Albuquerque, New Mexico, as well as, at the top of ski hills where the R value really needs to be robust, we're being appropriate in the response for each project rather than and of course, it's always great to over-insulate. You're not hurting anything by over-insulating, but that we can be really thoughtful about the materials.
All right, let me just take a second here, because one of the things, we're really great talking amongst ourselves, but we have people from Facebook and YouTube and others outside of our industry hopefully joining us. So when we talk about carbon sequestering, let's break this down for the general public to understand, because everybody here, we get it. In your words,
do you want to go up to the?
I'll go back up to the beginning.
And then after that, let's jump into like the wall thicknesses and how the layers are set up, so people really can have an understanding of that versus.
Yeah. Thank you, Dave. We always need to be, reeled out of the total hole of geekdom for sure.
We're all geek.
We're geeking out. Well, and I think this is an important place to start. This is, when we look at 100%, the full pie of carbon emissions annually, we're looking at transportation about 23%. And we may want to put into the chat the 2030, Architecture 2030 information about embodied carbon in the built environment. But when we're looking at transportation versus buildings for carbon emissions, we're all really clear about our car miles per gallon, right? We're all looking forward to that electric car if we don't already have one. We know what the impact is. When we talk about buildings, there's not a whole lot of consumer understanding about the impact. And when you dig into that, 11% of the building's carbon emission is from the materials themselves. and about 28% is from the operation. So when we talk about passive house and high performance and low energy buildings, we're addressing that operational carbon impact, right? That 28% of annual. I think air conditioning is counted as 6% of that, right? So just the cooling, that's why you're looking at cooling units on some horrible roof somewhere. But we need to really look at the materials, right? And the materials, concrete is number one, steel is right behind. If we continue to build with petroleum-based and heavily dependent on concrete, we're actually increasing the hole as we go towards either 2030 or the 2050 goals for emissions. So I'm going to switch slides and bring it up to sort of how we're looking at it in terms of Be Public and a comparison. There's a lot of data here.
Yeah, so this is comparing like a code-built home.
So if we go all the way from the left at code-built, and that orange above the line is the operational carbon, right? That's looking at the operational carbon over 30 years. And the green below the line is carbon sequestering, right? So we're wanting to look at the actual energy use in that operational and drop the amount of impact or load. So going from left to right, so can you see it very well that you can?
Mm-hmm.
Yep, okay.
And then green, that green portion is what we can sequester in terms of carbon based on our decision making for the field. So the far left being code construction, and say if we take code construction, and really I just want to preface this is built really on a lot of the work that Chris Magwood did at the Endeavor Center also. So this is and this is put together for just our process in terms of evaluating what the impact is when we start measuring something besides, say, the cost of our framing package, right? Say if we measure carbon in a decision-making process. So if we take, say if we want to take a code-built home to what would be considered like site net zero. So we're going to generate as much energy on site as we use on site over a year. So what happens to our carbon footprint? We are offsetting a certain amount of carbon impact that would have otherwise been generated, but we're not actually reducing our demand all that much right here. And our manufacturing is actually, our carbon footprint from manufacturing those PV systems is actually increasing our carbon footprint a little bit. So compared to when we moved to like an energy conserving approach using carbon sequestering materials, which is for the most part, these are natural renewable fibers. Like it's cellulose, 70% of the Be Public components are post-consumer recycled newspaper by weight, right? So that's a huge carbon sequestering component to it right there. And then we're also using smaller diameter wood and less wood too, so that we're able to use more sustainably managed forests. And so what happens at that point, we're sequestering this amount, but now our loads are coming way, way down, as well as our footprint because of our material decisions right here. And then, going below that you can zero out that building with PV also at that point. So, and this is where, this is just without generating energy on site. This is where you can get your carbon footprint, right? Just by your design and your construction. Yeah,
for sure. So let's talk about the wall system. So the thicknesses, how do the layers work in your wall system?
On the interior, there's an interior service cavity where all your electricals run and so forth, and it's on, on 24-inch on center furring strip, so that's where your sheetrock gets applied to, so it's all very visible. And then there's an air tightness layer, and it's that smart Intello assembly there that's on a very dense pack blanket of cellulose with It's basically like a webbed double stud wall that's using smaller diameter studs and so forth. And it's been a cool thing to really be able to, once you're able to control the situation that your building's going to be in, you always know where your building paths are and so forth. You're able to optimize your structure to the point that you can take out all the stuff that, prescriptive building code is requiring, because it's there to be present in every worst case scenario where, okay, so you're going to control the situation that your components are being used in. So therefore you can optimize your structure for it and it only.
Yeah.
So,
Love it.
mm-hmm.
So there was a comment here. It goes back to when you were talking about the 8%. Let me see if I can find that. Here you go. Brian, that pricing is only for the wall, so many people just add 8% to everything. But it's the 8% isn't for the whole floor and ceiling system. It's just the wall.
Yeah, that's like, so you have a $100,000 component package from B Public in an R35 wall. Moving that to an R52 wall would be $108,000. Right. That's what. So you've got like a, say a 70% increase in R value and an 8% increase in cost. And that's sweet. That's really where we want to be, because again, we want to be actually advocating for more carbon sequestering. So as much carbon sequestering materials we can stuff into these walls is actually good at this point, because we need to start doing that, because we're not reducing our emissions fast enough.
Right, absolutely. And if we have a housing crisis and we have to build a lot more, we really need to pay attention to it, don't we?
And if we want our housing to be there for 100 years, then why not, right? Because they all make sense. And so this is what we're doing.
Well, and I want to jump in here. We're sort of going into the deep dive of the technical, and of course, we all love the building science that this is based on. Right. But what is really, I think, important to talk about, and is sort of revolutionary in the space, is that when builders that have no experience with passive house or with high performance walk into a job site and experience our floors, our walls, and our top panels installed, it's totally understandable to them within 3 minutes. So we're talking about, it's not rocket science.
Right.
Like, we really are talking about materials that are understood in the field, whether it's young or old, whether very highly trained as passive house trade people.
Can we share that slide, Edie, while you're talking about that? That there's the pictures of the components.
Oh, sure. Yeah. I don't know. Dave's in charge. He's
because people haven't seen, so go to the second to last.
Well, while you're going to that slide, you made a very good point when it comes to our workforce, Edie, and that point is that most contractors and tradespeople are in the trades because they're very visual, hands-on. Seeing is believing is what you're saying. And this is very important. How do we communicate that to a workforce that's not here with us? And I think that's where we struggle. Because it's the same with me. I tell everybody, you send me an email more than 2 paragraphs, I'm calling you. That's why I do video. I don't like reading and writing. The data sheets and spreadsheets, I gloss over and I start thinking of Disney World. So, the reality of it is, that's something we have to contend with, and we need more people to see this hands-on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think experiencing it both as builders and architects and designers as well, but really importantly, the consumers. I have a big job of expressing to people the difference, and we all experience, building science failure, whether it's cold spots or from mold or your windows fogging up, whatever it is. To experience quality and the quiet of these assemblies needs to be experienced. Like, we need to share this out, because it's an amenity and it's an ease. When we're talking about the health of buildings, there's a great difference in how you experience and live in these buildings. And so, we're really out there to build in many communities, but I think every time we have a build, and this community is amazing about this, every time we have a build, it's an opportunity to bring people in and to share it.
Let me put a comment up here, because while we have this picture up, it's probably appropriate to answer this one from Shannon Pendleton. Can you talk about windows you prefer to use, the materials, and why you prefer those? And do you guys do the windows at the manufacturer? I'm going to ask that as well. Is that something you want?
That with the windows and doors, we typically are using triple pane windows and doors for the projects just because of the performance level. The panels and the components are not proprietary to a certain window and door manufacturer. They're really designed to be able to receive any window, within, for its placement to be optimized for whatever the project requires. But so not typically, just it's a performance that we would recommend. So, and I think just, we have a lot of projects that are coming to us that aren't familiar with passive house or are not seeking a solution to sustainable, like in green development, but purely from an economic perspective, like that it makes a lot more sense and to be able to start using components and designing to a predictive construction cost result, right? So B-Publics, you're like utilizing the panels or the components early in the design process allows you to have a very accurate understanding of exactly what your passive house or that thermal envelope is going to cost totally assembled on site, and be very clear. It's just like your window and door package, right? And you trust that it's going to show up on time and that crew's going to install those windows and doors. And so B-Public's really focused on that, on reducing the soft costs to project development, because that's really one of the big barriers that we saw for scaling development, for something to be able to serve infill projects all the way up to multifamily. And so it's really from, like in this, I think this picture shows it away like this. The panel of components that you see there, it's completely unheard of to have a standard pile of prefabricated building components. Usually each one's, totally customized, and they're meticulously labeled and meticulously loaded in reverse order that they're going to be utilized on site and so forth. There's a lot of mobilization complexity that happens. You're not able to inventory manufacturing. And so that's what B-Public is bringing to it, is an ability to start inventorying components and have, decentralized manufacturing where those are created as and are able to serve those projects fairly simply, easily, responsive. So
and let me jump in here, because I think we're really excited about it, but it's not known to probably everybody who's on the live. The picture on the right is the third or fourth day of that install. So the install crew showed up, and the roof panels are going up on day 3 and 4. So when we talk about the savings and the difference of a simplified system where you can pick from the pile and construct according to the plan, there's such speed. And so when we're talking to clients, of course, rural sites, the speed and having people, in these locations that are challenging, but it's also for those infill projects, a fast build and getting it up and off the ground makes for very good neighbors. These are the people you want building next door or in your backyard, right? You want this up and done, and the materials to be safe and secure, and also the staff to be happy. This was at, I think it was 20 degrees this day. The guys who were coming in to finish it were really happy to be inside a passive house envelope in the middle of winter.
What is the thickness of that roof panel going on there? That looks like a pretty thick.
I think that's at like 22 inches.
22 inches? Okay.
And R82 about. Yeah. Okay. And so one thing, like all of these components that you're seeing there, they have like a single, like a shop drawing, right? Yeah. That's for manufacturing and the structural engineer reviews and so forth, and that goes into the construction package, and that's something that's also really unique. So that's one of the ways that we're reducing the sort of the cost to the panels is by not having to recreate shop drawings every time for new and re-engineering. It's already been done. So that information is able to just be pulled from a library.
So we're talking time saving. So you're roughly finishing off your set in about 4 days, give or take, 3 to 4 days. Yes.
A little bit longer.
A little bit longer. Okay. And then how many people does it take to do these sets?
Like an optimized crew right here would be 3 or 4 people, depending on whether they're operator. Yeah. So that's a crew of 3, working the panels and so forth. And then 1 other for the operator for the crane or the telehandler. Yeah.
And you guys are building the panels at the same time the site work and foundation's going in, right? So you're optimizing your time there, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yep, you got it. And every time we do a build, Dave, that local builder is getting an experience and being able to observe and learn from the install crew. And that's really how I think we seed this network and we grow the network of people who are, trained, ready, preferred installers, builders, people who can share this information. It's a part of that spreading our knowledge, right?
So hopefully like the next project that local crew is able to install, right? And maybe the prefab crew just sends 1 super app, just to guide it, you know what I mean? But again, like Edie's saying, to seed it so that they become more familiar with it. We just want to be a really good tool. That's really what we're after. Yeah.
And you guys, so what I'm hearing is you're setting you have your own crew setting these when they go out into the field, yes?
We have preferred partners. So we have partners who have done this that we rely on. And that experience, is so invaluable. So because there's so few people out in the marketplace who've done this and really do know how to tape it and stitch it and make sure that the pass off to the builder back to the local GC is well done and that the envelope is complete, right? It's really ready to go.
And Dave, you just said something important. You said like that we've trained. And in a way, it's not. The installers train us, right? The installers come back to us with feedback and say, like, that was a pain in the butt. That worked. Okay, that's like, you know what I mean? And so that's, again, that mentality of getting feedback from the field, from, from material suppliers, from the manufacturers, from the shippers, you know what I mean? To just be responsive to it.
Yeah, for sure. We got some more questions coming in. We're going to go to those in a second. My last question before we move on, because I want to get through the video and everything else. It's already been 1 hour and 10 minutes. It just goes by.
We need to do the SketchUp. I think we have to show the SketchUp.
Okay, show the SketchUp.
I got one question that I wanted to ask though. Are you guys looking at adding any MEPs to your systems moving forward? Plumbing, electrical. Are you looking to do any of that in the future?
Yeah, I think I mean. I'll answer. Like I do think so. Like that's a natural step.
Right.
And I think it does have to do too, just depends on sort of where we see the demand happening. Like if we do see that we're serving sort of critical mass in single family residences, then we could potentially create enough demand where we're placing an order for pods, like in a quantity that would justify it. We have multifamily project that is going up this summer, 27 units, and that was something that was a little bit critical, but it ended up being too customized across the board and not enough consistency. But so I think there's that opportunity, definitely.
Yeah. Love it. All right, let's see the SketchUp. Then we'll do a question, and then we'll end out with the video. How's that sound?
That sounds great.
All right, let me pull it
again
up.
While you're setting it up. I just love this mass customization. It's really on steroids when you're able to train and educate the next crew. Just fantastic details. Just love it.
Yeah.
John, I'm loving that you're here, man. I know you've been popping in and out, but hey, listen, that's life on the road. I know the feeling very well.
It is. Sorry about that. But again, I can't get enough of this. So thanks for letting me join in. And again, what they're doing about educating and growing, this whole collaborative approach is just where we need more of the industry to buy into. And they're out there training, they're out there teaching, out there promoting what they're doing. And it's just fantastic. Again, I appreciate that we get to be along with the ride with it all. And again, that's this whole team where we're trying to give them input of what we've seen in other different practices, but the process they're doing, this is the future right here.
Well, you know what? You made a good point too, Sean, and not to tout your horn because I tout it a lot because I like that horn you have. But the reality of it is, you know, as a supplier and somebody that has some great products that's out there working with different manufacturers, you get to also, you end up being a consultant in a lot of ways. And it's not just being a salesperson. You're actually more of a consultative type person saying, well, this is how we're seeing best practices happen, and these are the new things coming out. So I think your input when these manufacturers getting up and going, whether it's volumetric or panelization or any of the above, is super important. All right, here we go. Let's see. Let's make sure I get the right one here.
And I want to give a shout out that really we're about connecting these dots, and we've created a system to really bring more people in. And sometimes we really talk about the performance in Passive House, and sometimes we just talk about designing better buildings, right? I mean, we're really sneaking the spinach into the smoothie, as it were. Right. And we're really trying to, but it's through partnerships, and there's so many good people doing the education and the training. And really, we're creating a funnel to bring more people in, which is it's really gratifying. It's a really positive place to be. And people are really responsive. And that's because of all of you guys spreading the word. So
that's it. That's it
all around.
We got to keep spreading the word, and we got to stop talking amongst ourselves and talk to the consumer, because the consumer needs to know what they need, right? And they don't understand.
Or you need to know what the options are, right?
Well, that's it. That's exactly it. You know, if a lot of consumers knew that their headaches and asthma was caused by their house and not because they just had headaches and asthma, this whole conversation is a lot bigger than what most people know is, I guess, my point. All right, let's get to the video here real quick. Let's put this on the screen.
Be Public is centering all of our designs, all of our innovations around resilience and deep sustainability. This means carbon positive, net zero, and low energy are not only within reach, they're here now.
There's far greater value in investing in energy conservation or reduction than ever investing in efficient energy production. When a building is optimized for energy conservation, that building is using like 90% less energy than a typical code-built building. It's not uncommon for Be Public residential projects to have a peak heating load of 3,000 watts. When your loads are at that level for a building, say for 1,200 square feet, just your body heat and cooking and things like that, that's 10% of the heating load needed for the house itself. When you're bringing your loads that low, that the building itself is able to act as a battery.
Housing crisis is immense. California has demanded 3.5 million homes in 5 years. And for scale, the largest production they've had in the last 10 years was 80,000 in a single year. So we see our part as a small part. We can't suit every project in every region, but we're really aimed at that missing middle. So single family homes, townhomes, those 3 flats, that really manageable neighborhood size development is where we're focused.
The standard Be Public components are really Lego-esque in a lot of ways. They're comprised of floor panels, wall panels, and roof panels that are designed to work in very consistent dimensional increments so that they can fit together and stack together. Be Public really wanted to develop a product that was completely scalable.
It's an integrated design that performance can be included from the beginning, not as an afterthought. Because we're component-based, we provide pricing on day 1 or day 2 based on a simple schematic so that an architect or a homeowner or a design build firm can know right up front what the investment in high performance will be.
After decades of designing low energy buildings, either through passive solar, Adobe and Trom walls, and then going into Lead for Homes pilot projects, it literally never occurred to me to invest as a primary investment in energy conservation. When we first were exposed to the passive approach to construction and the value of investing in energy conservation, it was actually a complete light bulb and fish trap in terms of how we approach designing buildings.
We're excited. It's not about one thing, it's about everything. The materials we build with are just as important as reducing our home energy use. Be Public Prefab. Imagine building differently.
I love it.
That was great.
That was great. I don't know. Did you guys get excited when you see your own sizzle reel going in the video?
It's just really
Doesn't
painful.
make me feel smarter than I.
Right? I love it. I mean, it's to me it was spot on. I think I love what it was doing. All right, let's get to some comments real quick here. Let me see, where have we left off? All right.
Dave, I got to say, we got to shout out to our partner because there are 3 of us co-owners of Be Public. Charlotte Lagarde, because of COVID, was stuck in Connecticut, was not in the video shoot. It looks like Jonah and I do this all ourselves. We do not do this all ourselves.
Yeah.
Charlotte is with us along every single step of this company.
I love it. I love it. We used to live in Connecticut up in East Lyme, so I know that territory. I know the territory well. Love it. All right, so here we go. We have Roy Heng. Apologize in advance for introducing a policy question into the chat. Do you have enough history and or documentation to allow for smoother transitions through permitting and field inspections? I imagine jurisdictional approvals for such new concept is potentially a significant hurdle.
Yeah, I
don't know if it's that new of a concept, but go ahead.
No, but I think it's a really good point, though, and it's I think we do have a really neat approach to it, in that the components are all consistent, and they've got very consistent shop drawings and so forth. And what is specified, what varies every time on a building is the building load from, wind or seismic or height or shear walls or glazing opens, shape. All those things affect the individual building. And so that's what's really been a big hindrance to standardizing components like this. And so Be Public has approached it by that those specific loads are specified through additional like typical Simpson hold downs or strapping tie downs to basically provide whatever the specific building loads are. And also there's 2 levels of structural connections that are happening both on the exterior plane and then on the interior plane too. And what Be Public has done is we've just brought all of that material, all those connections out to the very exterior or interior surfaces, so they're inspectable by your inspector, general contractor, your project engineer or anything like that. And so that's really one of the ways that we've sort of approached that process right there. So every project still gets to be engineered. Right, it's just like a 2x4.
That's right.
It's just exactly what the capacity of that 2x4 is. Right, so you just use it accordingly. So if I need, and so that's how Be Public is approaching it too, and that's a really successful precedent that the building industry has had, and one that we didn't feel we should try to turn on its head. Right, a lot of other ones we turn ahead, but that's too big of a one to move. Right, so.
It is a big one to move. Code's a big thing that's shifting right now. Mm-hmm. Fortunately, we have quite a few people that we've been working with and talking with and had on the show that are in the position to write codes and are looking at adding more codes for our industry of offsite, whether it's panelized, modular, whatever the case is. So it's not left up to interpretation by each local state official, right, on some of this stuff, which is super important. And that is something that we're working really hard behind the scenes to make happen as well. All right. Great question. Thank you for that question. Rain Wardell, what is the geographic area you can deliver to? This is another great question.
We probably should narrow it as Rain asked that question. We should probably narrow it, but it really is all across North America. They're focus areas that we're really trying to serve in their communities of need. I'll shout out to our clients, partners, and friends in the Bay Area, and we are working to do some of the replacement housing in Northern California and Santa Cruz Mountains. But we're also working with partners in Revelstoke. We're working with partners in upstate New York. So it's climate zones 2 through 8, technically, right, Joe? Yeah.
Mhm.
So
In terms of our like building science, right? Those are ones that we're totally comfortable in, and beyond that, they should evaluate it on a case by case basis. Yeah.
Love it. Love it. All right, Jonah, I know you've been wanting to show the SketchUp, so let's hop into that. We have about 7-8 minutes left.
Okay, I'll do it even shorter than that.
Yeah, let's just show it, and then we're gonna wrap up there. I think we're almost ready for a new show and us to be on location showcasing some of this
yeah,
stuff.
and Dave, I think this is for the Twitch audience. I think technically this is for the gamers, what Jonah's going to show.
Yeah.
Really, it's like the next level of Minecraft.
This is an example. These are using the tools from BPublic that they're available on for download on the BPublic website.
Okay.
And so it basically has a family of the different components that you're then able to take and develop different designs with in terms of a tool. So these are all just examples of projects. This is ranging from a small 700 square foot that's using the floor, wall, and roof. Right. And then you can see just an example. This is like a tiny home, 400 square feet with lofted ceiling, a little bit higher ceilings there. And again, always just each one of these, we can select it and then run a report on it and do it. And we know exactly how much those panels cost and so forth. So in terms of a tool for pricing, prefabricated passive house construction, there's nothing easier, right? Because each one of the units are there. So, going all the way up to, single family residences. Again, we have a lot of opportunity for playing with what our openings are, going floor to ceiling if needed, as well as using sort of some of our other traditional window openings. Right. And so for, say, 2-story, this is one that's using, a ledger mid-floor assembly. And then so our roof panels in this project are just going across the top there as flat, and then that pitch shed roof is then being applied onto it on site, right? So it's just a cold vented roof assembly, very simple.
So is this something that any consumer can go on your website and start playing with and designing and building? So
and then send it to us and we'll quote it.
I love it. I love it. Yeah.
And so this is example of multiple family project. This is a 4-unit building, mix of townhouses and apartments. Right. So going up, and this is using typical platform framing in that assembly. So, and then as well as, this is residential over commercial here. Yeah.
Podium,
is also really, very simple. The structure for us, there's no difference between this and those other single family residences down below. Right. Yeah. And then, this is a project that was collaborating with another partner that has sort of a proprietary mid-floor structural system. And so it was just looking at that with them. And then so, as well as say, this is a project that was, potentially these light blue areas in this plan were ones that would be good for optimization, but they weren't meeting the standard BPublic components. So that's something else that we're able to do. It's just not taking advantage of the full, cost opportunities or cost savings opportunities that there are when you're using, components that have all the engineering and shop drawings completed on.
Sure.
So really, again, you can select any one of these groupings and run a report right here in SketchUp and send it to us for quoting and so forth. So really, it's pretty good tool.
Now, do you guys use SketchUp for your everyday drawing, or do you take that information? You already have the system in place, and you plug the data into it.
This is just a really quick tool, right? It's the equivalent to building blocks now in terms of our culture, right? So, but all of our other work is done in BIM, like in Revit, or shop drawings are done in Autodesk Work. Right, or AutoCAD work. So
I love it. I love it. Awesome, you guys. Well, listen, one last question, actually. How many stories can you go?
Right now, we're just engineered for self-supporting at 2.
Okay.
Right. And so if we want to go over 2, then it would be a case-by-case basis. It really depends on the loading that building would have, the location, wind, all that. So,
but you can be up on a podium, so you could have a 3-story building, 4-story, as long as it's on a
You
podium.
bet.
Two frame, yeah.
I love it. I love it. Looks like Sean popped back in. So let's just bring him in here for the outro. I know he's being all cool now with his glasses. What's up, cool dude?
Well, Mark would typically have his glasses on right now, and so I'm missing the beard, but I thought I'd bring a little bit of Mark to the show today because we miss Mark and he's out with traffic or weather issues, but we love Mark, and I just thought we'd bring a little love of Mark back into the show today.
Love it. All right. I agree with you. I hope he's having safe travels out there. They're making some big progress. I heard, spoke to him
Did you
already
guys not hear
earlier.
me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah.
We got you. All right. So listen, everybody, what a great day we had today. You'll see in the ticker below that we have a live on location
Perfect.
also coming up with Tavistock, which is a huge master plan community that is built like no other. Imagine being in a community where you can go to kindergarten and never leave there and get your doctorate degree. They have their own education, own schools on site. They've used containers to build out their retail center. They're using modular. They're doing some amazing, amazing things, Tavistock, and they're not waiting for anybody else to show them how to do it. They're doing it themselves, which is cool. So that's coming up the week of the 14th and 15th, I believe it is. So stay tuned for more details on that. And then we are taking the show on the road. We are headed to Idaho and Utah. We have some big shows coming up, and we are going to be streaming live to the universities across this country with the National Association of Home Builders and student chapters and some others. So we're having a lot of fun. We're going to continue the education, and we're going to hopefully continue it with Edie and Jonah, and hopefully we can make their factory one of our locations that we come and we show the students what is happening in our world. What do you guys think? Sound good?
Sounds great.
We're on.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. All right. So you guys don't go anywhere, but for everybody else, if you are not following Edie and Jonah and Sean, please follow them right now. Please hit that like and share button. And as always, subscribing to our YouTube channel is pertinent to keep this information going because that's where all the videos live after we're done here on wonderful LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. YouTube's the home of everything. So if you missed it, you can go back and watch it. And for the rest of you, thank you so much. Edie, Jonah, Sean, thank you for tuning in today. Don't go anywhere. I'll come right back to you after our outro. Thanks, everybody else. Bye now.
Thanks.